Good evening, everybody. I'm Heather from Reading Rocks, and I'm here in Cornwall. I think you can just about hear some naughty seagulls out there. And thank you for joining us. I can see a few people are watching already, which is amazing. And tonight we are joined by the wonderful Jane Considine, teaching consultant extraordinaire. I'm sure you've heard all about Jane before, and she has collaborated with me on the most recent Reading Rocks box. Let's see if we can get the superb sticker on there. It was brilliant to choose the latest box with Jane. And we've also got author of one of our most recent choices, the spectacular Jenny Pearson, who is the author of The Boy Who Made Monsters. If you haven't read it yet, you are going to love it. So without further ado, I'm going to invite them in. Hi, Jenny.
Hello.
Hi, Jane.
Hi.
Brilliant to have you with us. So I'm in Cornwall. Where are you, Jane?
Oh, I'm in Northampton. There's no seagulls and there's a grey drizzle. Yeah, it's a bit rubbish.
Oh, we won't talk about that then. Hi, Jenny. Whereabouts are you?
I'm up in the northeast in Durham. Pretty grey here too, to be honest.
To be fair, it has been raining here as well. Let's not talk about the rain. Let's have a talk about this. When I spotted that this book was coming up, I was really excited and wanted to put it forward for the shortlist to Jane, because we absolutely loved Grandpa Frank when it was in the box. I think it was some point last year, maybe January. And our readers really, really loved it. So I was delighted that Jane was with me when we chose this one.
Oh, thank you. I'm delighted too.
Yay, that's amazing. So tell us, Jenny, where does this story idea come from?
It's always hard, pinpointing down where different ideas come from. But I was thinking about it, and I was reading a book with my eldest. Is this one? I've actually got it. I was prepared today about monsters and ghosts, reading through it. And there was a little bit, it's a beautiful book. It's one of these massive hardbacks. And there was a little section on the Loch Ness Monster. And it just got me thinking about maybe I could have a loch monster in a different loch rather than Loch Ness. So that was the start of the idea. And then I started playing with, well, is it real? Is it not real? And then what that could mean and the sort of metaphors. And I always really loved A Monster's Calls by Patrick Ness, which is quite a moving, I found it quite harrowing and emotional book. And I wanted to bring some of the elements of that into a sort of what I do with the humour. So that's kind of where it sort of started. And then in my research, because I did do a bit of research, I was looking into the famous photo of the Loch Ness Monster, surgeon's photo. And I found out that it was actually faked, and it was like a toy submarine with a wooden neck that they'd stuck on it, and it kind of convinced the world. So that kind of made me think, well, maybe these boys in the book, they could try and fake their own monster, and so they do a bit of junk modeling. So that's kind of where all the pieces kind of came from to make the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
lots of different places.
It's so great to hear how authors kind of gather their ideas and piece them together, isn't it, Jane?
Oh, absolutely. I just love the idea as well. I don't know if people watching know that Jenny is a primary school teacher, and if there's something a year 5 teacher can do, it's paper mache. So I think that's probably in the mix as well, as it all gets morphed together. But you said,
you know what?
Sorry, no.
Yeah. I think I might have been doing a paper mache hot air balloon thing at the time, which they all looked lovely. I came in the next day and every single one had just kind of deflated.
Yeah, but you said the teacherly right things, didn't you? About their artwork. Oh, I love it. I love that one. Sorry, Heather, you go.
No, go for it, Jane. You were on one.
I was going to say, you were talking about your metaphorical mind getting to work. That was really palpable in the book, and I'm sure Heather felt that as well. That came through on so many levels as a reader. It was just wonderful, and that real sort of deep connection with sort of water themed music. In fact, it was drenched in it. I don't know if you saw what I did there.
I did very good.
But it was great, and Heather has been showing off. She's had a bit of a post-it off with me. My no post-its. Hers is covered in them, but I'm sure some of those moments are marked, Heather, because that was just wonderful, I thought.
I think when I write, I do think about the discussion that you might have in the class and that moment that the kids realise and where you can go with that. And I think it's always a balance, because sometimes I just want to tell a story, a really good story for kids to enjoy. And sometimes I have to like quieten down the teacher side of it, is knowing where to sort of pitch it. But that's why I have a good editor as well.
Yeah, I love that mix of very clean, like the plot part of the story, and those sort of more sort of gentler moments to kind of, we just have some great moments at the beginning with kind of repetition and language and all the water kind of stuff. It was just wonderful to read. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
It is a lovely balance between that kind of heart tug and that kind of momentum of the story. You really want to know, you're really invested in those characters. Can I share a little bit? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Might as well make use of these. I mean, calling them post-its is probably a bit technical, as like Reading Rock's ripped up goodie bags. I'm one of those people who should have an immense amount of bookmarks, and I'm always getting like a ticket or something to hold the page. It's a bit embarrassing, really, isn't it? But this is towards the end of the story, and we've had the moment of Stanley trying to get into the lock but not being quite brave enough, and Benji says, as I watched his retreating figure, it struck me how utterly alone he must still feel. It was as though part of him was still clinging on to that boat, clinging on to what had happened, clinging on so hard he wasn't able to let go and reach out. Beautiful. You're so good, Jenny.
Yeah.
I do like those two boys. I've got two boys myself that similar age difference. I kind of did use them as inspiration. Like for all the kids in the books that I write, I do kind of, I'm really lucky. I've been teaching 17, 18 years now. So I've met a lot of kids, and I kind of take little bits from each of them and kind of smoosh them to get new characters. So I hope that they feel real. And I think I'm very lucky that I'm around kids all the time to be able to draw those bits from and how they interact with each other.
Very, very real.
Very real. And I think what was so wonderful was the looking out of each boy, one brother looking at the other, looking on like they weren't coping. And then the other brother looking back like you're not coping, and the distance between them getting wider and wider, and a hug getting harder and harder. But actually, they're both not coping in their own ways. But in a way, the twist, I think, is that, oh, it's Benji not coping. He's the positive kid. And, that's really going to resonate with children that we teach. It really is. And, how children, what was so wonderful, I thought, like, you get an insight into how vulnerable and hurting they are, and then the dialogue comes out and it's so harsh and narky and like cruel. It's just like, you've just thought that about your friend or your brother, and you've just said that. It's just kids all over.
No filter. It just, absolutely.
I wanted to ask you about the boys, because the thread of being able to talk about feelings. I was trying to find the little paragraph I found then where it talks about I said the right things in counselling, but then he was being asked about being able to label feelings, and how do you even do that when it's something that you can't even describe, even if you've swallowed a whole dictionary. And in particular about boys. And I wondered whether your choice to have two brothers as opposed to two sisters, or a brother and sister, was deliberate. to really get that discussion about boys talking about their feelings?
I think that's a really good question. I didn't set. Looking back now, if I felt I can see all that in there, and I can see that having two boys myself, and me, thinking about what if I wasn't around and how would they cope, and as a parent, sometimes you can catastrophize and imagine what would they be without me. So maybe that was all behind that. But I just had Benji really strongly in my head, and I knew I wanted him to be really visionary and positive, and again, some of the things he says come from the kids I've taught. It was in a RE lesson, and I think we were doing I moved on to Hinduism or something, and one kid was just like, "Oh, there's so many religions," and then another one was like, "Yeah, but we could just believe in them all. I think that's the best bet, like who knows which one's right." And I kind of loved that they're like, "Yeah, let's just go with it all." So that's kind of what Benji's like. He's taking on like the gods Brahma and Vishnu, and he just is positive, and he'll wish on a magpie, and that's a really good thing. But also I think that sometimes partly I'm like this as well, that you can be really, really positive, but underneath that sometimes there's things that you probably need to deal with.
Are you praying for Spider-Man though, Jenny?
I would.
I'm praying for Spider-Man. That's what I'm saying.
So I think the two boys came because I did have Benji, and then I felt like the older brother relationship, because I felt like I don't know why, maybe this is wrong, but maybe I felt like an older sister might be a little bit more. So it needed to be two boys, and that slightly more difficult thing that we think that brothers might have. I don't know, you probably get sisters like it as well. So hopefully it translates for girls as well. But I think the two boys, it was never really a decision. It just sort of came out like that. And looking back, I can see why I did it, which is often the case when you do something and you think, oh, that was about that's been drawn from that.
Yeah, so it's almost like it's quite subconscious in many ways. Writing there can be very deliberate decisions, I'm sure, but some things for me as a reader, there was lots of, things placed on page 3 and page 5 and page 8 that kind of were called back later down the line. Were there some parts that were unexpected, or you weren't really sure where they were going to go? I suppose you can't remember. I don't know. I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Yeah, it is hard to remember. And I wrote this one. So this was actually the 4th book I wrote, but then I wrote Operation Nativity, and that was brought forward for Christmas. So it was a longer time. I think I wrote this one in lockdown. And when I write, I have a general idea of like the end scene and the character development and what's going to happen. But I tend to throw lots of threads in there and then go, oh, I can use that. And then sometimes I have to take them out. And then sometimes I get to the end and think, oh, so that's what it was all about. And then I have to go back and put things in to sort of strengthen that. So often it is a bit of a voyage of discovery. But I did know that I wanted Benji. He needed to work through his monsters and come out the other side and sort of learn to be happy. He had to sort of let go and move on. And I think I've been asked before, like, what are my books about? And I've realized that actually every single one is about kids sort of on the pursuit of happiness. It's all them trying to find their happy. That does, no matter what
about, surely
it is. And I think no matter what I'm writing, that's what I end up doing. So yeah, I think there's a certain goal, and then it does take you by surprise sometimes where it goes.
That's so interesting. I was thinking about some of the parts where Benji's talking about that time, but saying, I didn't understand that till later on. It's one, thinking about it now, I should have realised that there was something about Stanley's voice that sounded sincere. But at the time, I thought he was just trying to stop Uncle Hamish from getting suspicious. I didn't know the real reason for his change of attitude until later. I thought the two things that kind of, as a reader, it makes you go, oh, well, what does he learn later on, and kind of drives you through the story. And that sense of change of character and kind of,
sort of signposting it. I think that is something that I do in all of my books. And I've just been doing one recently, which involves a mystery, which is coming out next February. And I've had to take some of them out because my editor's been like, you might be giving a bit too much away there. Okay. So, but I do like to hint that there's some development and to keep the reader going on. And I like the voice coming in of a different Benji as well. I feel like it's a bit reassuring sometimes, especially if you are talking about, more difficult subjects. There's a sort of hint, I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that children know that they kind of look at adults and think we've got it all sorted, and we're static, and actually that kind of evolution of thought and kind of processing and change, I thought the way you weave that in is really, really nice.
Yeah, it was almost like a flash forward, isn't it? But that wasn't right. I was about to find out. It's not the exact words, but it was, that always nod into something in the future. Yeah, really clever. Yeah, love that. Really love that. Do your children that you teach know that you write? They obviously do. Do they review your books? Are they?
Yeah, they are. So they are there. It's really lovely when I've got one. If I've got a book coming out, someone will turn up to have, with their books for me to sign them, and they're really excited. But then the day-to-day of being in school, I'm Mrs. Pearson, who's like saying, excuse me, where was your date in LI? Why is it taking you this long to get it down? And sometimes I have a story of one girl who said in a lesson, Mrs. Pearson, I've read this is my first book, read your book. Oh, it's a bit of a worry when they say it, because you know what it's like. It's like walking in with a new haircut. She was like, I said, what did you think? She said, I found it a bit too pacey for me. Well, thank you very much. I think you'll find the Times disagrees with that. And I hope you enjoy your new school. No,
love that.
No, but generally it is lovely. And I do like, I ask them often as well about titles and things, because my publisher's like, will you try this out with the kids and see what they think?
Yeah.
And you can see sometimes we think we've got something really good, and it's like really muted, or they don't quite get it, or they don't know what it's about. So my class helped pick Operation Nativity.
Oh yeah, I didn't think when there was that moment in there, it's only a quick comment about Benji reflecting back to what his dad would call it, it's a puzzler, or you said where he had to lie because mum had a bad haircut or something. I just thought, hey, I've had those bad haircuts. You must have had those bad haircuts. You go back and your family don't want to look at you, or just like, the people I love are rejecting me on this little number.
One of my year sixes, when I had my hair done, I walked in and she said, Miss, have you had your hair cut? Have you had your hair done? I said, I have. And she said, like that, on purpose.
Brutal.
Yeah.
She was a brilliant kid.
Kids are amazing, and kids like that actually give you more to bounce off, and also more ideas as well, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
And Mandy was a bit like that, wasn't she, as well, until she met the bullies. But with Benji particularly, she was quite feisty and just, a bit brutal with him. She softened. That was adorable, actually.
Yeah, because she's got her own issues, hasn't she? Her little path to go on as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's nice to see a character, because some children see kids who look popular in one scenario and think they've got it sorted, but actually to see in a different position and reflect on that. I think there's loads to unpick and to discuss with kids and kind of help them emotionally and confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know, but we can all be like that, can't we? We can go to one place and be a life and soul, and another one you'd be like, oh, don't feel very confident here. So yeah, she does have a bit of a tough time, but it comes all right for her in the end. That's what I do like about writing middle grade, is that I like, you know, they all get to have a happy ending of sorts, and in the end.
Was there a temptation to just bring his parents back? Because there's just that hope is within you, isn't it? And you just kind of.
I
love Benji, and you just kind of, you want him to deal with it and realize, but actually you think, oh, wouldn't it be lovely?
I wrote 3 different endings.
Goodness.
So in one, there was a different one where the knock at the door and they found them.
Wow.
But
I don't think I can cope knowing that, actually. I'm just I don't want to hear it.
And it was really hard to choose, but that went to, you know, an editorial decision in the end. And I think it was the right one.
Yeah.
The right message.
Yeah.
Because I think for kids, and, you know, when you've been teaching a long time, as we have, it's unfortunate. I've felt, you know, some kids have really difficult, challenging lives, and they have, you know, I've taught kids who've dealt with loss of grandparents and parents and siblings, and to somehow have a miraculous bringing back of the parents didn't feel quite realistic enough. It was like, it would have been lovely for a happy ending, but it wasn't the message I think that we wanted to get across. So it was a big decision, that one. But I think it was the right one.
Definitely the right one. And I don't think we should shy away from those tricky things in books, because it's through books, as you say, that we can begin to deal with them. And I just love a lot of references in the book about big feelings that can't be named, because actually there just doesn't seem to be enough labels, especially when they start car crashing together, which is what they were doing for Benji, you know. And I think it was a lot of reference to that, how difficult it can be and stressful, you know. It's just so important to have those conversations, and I think useful for so many children in that regard.
And I think because there is, you know, there's a line of thought of thinking that it's just, you know, it's a kid's book, it should be fun, but there are lots of kids books out there and they do that, but obviously I want them to have fun, and I hope the humor that's in there kind of couches it a bit and I feel like when you can make a kid laugh, you kind of get their trust a bit that you're going to help bring them up. So I feel like there's enough sort of joyful moments and hope in it to be able to discuss the issues that I think we do need discussing. Because if it's not, you know, it's a kid sat next to the kid who's going through a difficult time, who needs to understand, and the rest of the class, you know. So that's why I do what I do.
And you do it so well. You really do it so well. And in the front of the book, we've got people like Frank Cottrell saying, as funny and tender as it could be. David Baddiel, funny and touching storytelling. And I also had a little look back at some of the comments from some Reading Rocks subscribers, from Grandpa Frank. Things like funny and moving in equal measures, wonderfully fun and heartwarming, the queen of mixing humour and heart, and sensitively deals with dementia, and beautifully written. And I just think, if it didn't have your name on the front, I would know it was yours because of that.
That's nice. I think to have an identifiable, recognizable voice as an author is like really lovely, because it's there are so many brilliant authors out there, and to be able to sort of stand out with what you're doing is like, that's a really lovely thing to hear. Thank you.
I did just, it's popped into my mind, coming back to the child who said, I just cogitate. It's not that I wasn't listening to those gorgeous quotes, I was, but about the child who said it was too pacey. I just thought this was perfect. You know, the stories that just move too quick, or you can't cogitate as you go along. It was just perfect. It was, and just that real sense as well, with kind of a teacher brain it's what the children would need in bite-sized chunks. It wasn't, you know, sometimes I think authors can go a bit abstracted, and it's a bit like, oh, you know, I'm the teacher and I'm thinking, what's happening here? You know, it's too buried. Whereas I think this was just signposted, but kind of just perfectly paced, actually, to take them with us. Yeah, really joyous to read. I think my husband's a bit fed up. I'm not helping with the dinner, but, you know, I had to finish it before I spoke.
Can we talk about Mr. Dog?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a dog, Jenny? Because I just felt
So,
the warmth for a dog. I just felt the
really
love for a dog.
So the kids in my first book, Freddie, Ben and Charlie, were the names that I thought I would call my boys. And then I had this sort of realization that my husband had some say. So I had to, they're William and Douglas now. So I put those into it. And we are probably too busy to have a dog. I want a dog. The kids want a dog. But I'm away a lot. And my husband is not really an animal person. This is something I realized I should have discovered before marrying him. Never mind. He's an excellent cook, so that's better. So Mr. Dog is the dog that I want to have. And we had a hamster, Mr. Hamster, rest in peace, and which was named by the boys, which was and I just thought that's just the worst name, but then I kind of loved it. And then with the Locky being Locky, I thought, oh, Mr. Dog is a good name for a dog from Mr. Hamster. So yes, he is, and he is a brilliant dog. He puts up with a lot, doesn't he, for them?
Oh, yeah. I absolutely loved Mr. Dog, and I read quite a lot of it with my dog kind of cuddling in. And Luna is my first dog. It's taken me till my 40s to get a dog, and oh my goodness, the love from a dog is just amazing. And I felt it. I felt like you had a dog and you knew, you understood.
So my dad does have a dog.
Bring it up, Heather, and just like rub salt in the wounds for her.
Oh, sorry.
So I think authors do a lot of sort of research and things to get into the sort of mindset of their characters. I know, like Catherine Rundell went to the Amazon when she was writing Explorer. I spent a lot of time looking at dogs in dog costumes on the internet. I would have written that book a lot quicker if I hadn't got obsessed. There are some brilliant costumes you can pop a dog in. And Katie Kear's did a really good illustration of the little, have you found it? And they end up dressing him up themselves as the Lot Monster.
And you can really get a bacon dog costume. Is this true, Jenny?
Yeah, that was. You can get a dog that's dressed as bacon. It's all on there.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. And a hot dog one. It was just Are
you going to order it, Jane?
I love it. I'm thinking about my Halloween outfit. Oh dear.
Amazing. Oh, it'd be a good prize, wouldn't it? I'm going to use that as a really, really tedious, I don't know what the right word is, a terrible segue. Just to mention, I'm just going to pop it on now. Let's see if we can make that work.
Oh, that was very slick. Well done.
That was good. How
seamless. We have got a prize running at the moment, haven't we, Jane, on all of our social feeds? Can we call it Twitter anymore, or are we on X? I don't know.
What has happened?
Let's not go there. But you can win The Right Stuff, written by Jane, and Hooked on Books, written by Jane. And you can also win a Reading Rocks subscription box, which is a great prize to win. It is a great so if you haven't won those. What were you going to say, Jane?
I just think it's a great prize. I mean, it's and actually the thought, Heather, that you put into curating books and thinking about the classroom is just phenomenal, and you're my go-to person if, it's like, are they any good? The sort of conversations we have. It's like, no, Jenny is brilliant. Well, I know she is. But I loved reading this book and actually reading it together and talking about it, behind the scenes before we've even met you. We just think it's utterly stunning. So good job all round. Yeah,
it gives you that sense of that book talk in the classroom as well, doesn't it? Of kind of, and everybody picks out different things or relates to different characters, and the children will do that as well. Well, that's the question I was going to ask you. Are you more Benji or Stanley?
Me.
Or both of you, really. I'm definitely Benji. I'm very,
Benji.
I've got a vision. Oh, I'm very optimistic.
And I am somebody who will sort of subscribe to the idea of, I've got a problem, let's just squish that down and I'll deal with that when I'm 80, when I've got time. It's just really bad, but let's ignore that.
I'm a Benji. I've actually crashed a car about to go into speak at a conference, closed the door, somebody behind crashed the car into a lamppost. I'll just clarify. A woman literally lifted the curtains and was like, and I was like, oh, shut the door, I'm going to deal with that later. Did the conference, back out and thought, I'm going to actually have to deal with this now, but would have loved to put it off until I was 80.
It wasn't a Reading Rocks conference, was it, Jane?
Oh, God.
Left a trail of destruction at a Reading Rocks conference.
I'll tell you what, some things you just have to go into a bit of denial. Like, I'm not pregnant. It can't be happening. Oh, dear.
Well, we're all Benjis. I wonder whether
did I get engaged last
night?
night?
We'd be disastrous together.
Amazing. I just wanted to say thank you to Usborne as well, because as well as putting your so this is the bag that the schools get. It's in a box when you're a teacher, and this is your lovely book, and it's all beautiful and wrapped up nicely, so we get that gorgeous unboxing the book joy experience. But Usborne very kindly sent us some gorgeous things to go with it, so we've got that lovely create your own monster. I don't want to see what you create, Jane. Could be a bit crazy.
No.
And these beautiful, there you go, a bookmark. I can stop using tatty bits of paper.
Yeah, great.
With all of your beautiful books on. So it's nice to have all those bits of goodies to use.
I'm kind of thinking of some, like, I want to see some junk modelled monsters now as well.
Oh, yeah.
Get the gaffer tape out. Yeah. And if any teachers are looking for extra activities in their classroom, the link, this is on the Usborne website. Did you write these, Jenny? Or
no, I didn't. But you know, I keep thinking I should do, because I have done for one of my books, the one I wrote with Sam. I did do a chapter by chapter, like comprehension and writing and punctuation and grammar thing. But it took ages. But I should do it because I do love a scheme of work.
That's on your website, isn't it? So if people want to find out those bits and bobs, head to Jenny's super website. And you've got information there about author visits and stuff like that, haven't you?
Yeah,
I was thinking, it's like your class must feel like they've got an author visit every day, or are they just a bit now? Do you not kind of name drop and say about all of the, the people that you've met?
Well, I have got some good authors come into the school, so they're very lucky. But I do love, I love an author visit, because it's such a privilege and an honour to go into other schools and see what other teachers are doing. And I'm like, that's great. This is it. Just walking around and getting the atmosphere and the vibe from the kids. And it's, I find it's, I turn up and I do my thing, and then I do the workshops. And it's tiring because you've got to be, I can't be like shouty teacher lady. Well, I'll sit down. You've got to be nice.
But look at this comment that's just come in.
Oh, that's nice.
How nice is that?
But it's such a nice, it's like this, it's a nice change from going in and being the teacher and going in and doing like as an author. Yeah, but it's great going around different schools. I love it. And amazing. To see what people are doing out there.
Get Jenny books,
brilliant stuff going.
Yeah, well, I've got a bit of parts from old Land Rovers, a bit of netting. I'm sure we can donate them to the local primary school. Get some monsters on the go.
Oh, that's what you absolutely need in your props bag. You need a Land Rover snorkel.
Yeah, and then throwing a bit of Jenny's deflated paper mache air balloon. You'll be well away.
Amazing. Oh, brilliant. Do you know what? It's been so nice. I feel like we could just talk for hours, but maybe next time we need to bring a glass of wine and just, chill out a little bit more.
Yeah. We can delve more into Jane's pregnancy realization.
Oh, no. We don't want to do that.
I do that. I've been banned from swearing, so let's not do that.
To be fair, Jane, you have been on your best behaviour.
Yeah.
We'll let you come back. Maybe talk about one of the other books that have featured in the boxes. I noticed you shared a little video about this little beauty.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that one?
This one was in our lower Key Stage 2 box. So this is so you think you've got about life as a Viking. So it's Nosy Crow with the British Museum. So it's Chai Strathy and Marissa Moraes, the illustrator.
Very good.
Bit of national curriculum coverage.
Right. Nice to have a bit of non-fiction in the boxes. And I'm going to do one more shout out because at the moment everybody's voting in our Reading Rocks Books Awards, so it's all the books that have featured across this academic year. So there's all our early years books, our July titles chosen with Jane. Woo!
Love it.
Jeffrey got the jitters. And there you are in the July box. So give it a big shout out. Hopefully lots of people will vote for you.
Yeah, I will, Jenny. I loved it.
And it's anonymous, so people won't know how many times you voted, Jane. Oh, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with both of you.
I've really enjoyed it. I could actually just sit here now.
It's really nice, isn't it? You forget that there's lots of people watching. You feel like you're just having a nice little chat. Before you go, Jenny, can you give us any kind of future insight? Is there something that you're writing at the moment that we should be keeping an eye out for?
So I've got the paperback of Operation Nativity coming out in November, but then in February I have, and we don't quite know the title yet, it's called The Bullet Ball 3000, a turbocharged super race, which is about, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. Mind you, publishing always say, keep this quiet. I think, who's really what?
We won't tell anyone, will we, Jane?
No. So it's about a girl and her dad on a relationship building road trip across Europe. So they're in supercars and they have to do funny challenges, but the beginning starts a bit like the Italian Job. They're hanging off a cliff with gold in their boot, stolen gold.
Ooh, this is good.
So,
I want to do that road trip to Europe. I mean, when the fires calm down, but I do want to go. Yeah.
So it's and there's heart in there as well. They've got stuff to deal with on this trip. They've got big stuff.
Gold for a start.
Yeah.
I do always feel like your stories should be in film as well. That like opening scene there sounds very cinematic. And I could imagine the especially the kind of scenes on the lock. I thought they definitely should be made into a film. So if anyone's listening out there, please get the rights for that, please.
British films, aren't they? They're very sort of
and the humour's very British. I mean, the child humour is just spot on. It's just so believable and realistic. And just so perfect. Yeah, loved it.
I do love writing dialogue between kids. You know, when it's like chuckling away.
You weirdo. You're
weirdo.
That literally is a conversation I've listened to my own children having. And you're just like,
yeah, I'm having that one. Oh, thank you, ladies.
We're getting a bit weirdo. I think we should.
There's no one as weirdo as you, Jane, but we love you for it.
Oh, you're all gorge. Let's just have like a kind of a woman rocks sort of. We need to do this more often, like a book club chat. We need a podcast. We need something.
We do. We certainly do. And on that note, we'll see whether our viewers agree with us or not.
Conversation now. Oh yeah, damn. People watching. Always forget.
Any final words, ladies?
Ooh. No,
sorry, I really put that on you, didn't I?
Now, no, I am personally going to recommend that book in year 4, year 5, and year 6, depending on the class. I think it's absolutely brilliant and just so tender and believable. I just adored it. So yeah, I'm going to be shouting about it everywhere I go. They're my last words.
Thank you. I would say, and it's really appreciated, because I think as non-celebrity authors, what we have is word of mouth. So people talking about books, all the books, not just mine. There are loads of brilliant writers out there at the moment, and you know, speaking about the books you love, just it does help. It really helps.
Brilliant. Well, have a lovely evening. Thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.